fantasy baseball drafts. You might have done them already, or you have them this weekend and this week before the April 1st season starts. But here's a few pitchers that are going to be bust this year. The first guy is Edwin Diaz, the closer of the New York Mets. And Edwin Diaz, once again, the Mets are giving him an opportunity to close ball games this season. But Diaz, I don't think he's going to have a great year. And we've seen over the last two seasons him blow saves and not be that good. 2020 season, he was 2-1 with 6 saves, 50 strikeouts, a 1.75 ERA, and a 1.25 WHIP. So it was great numbers for Diaz, no doubt about it. And he had 2 strikeouts an inning as well for this Met team. And this Met team, they should have a good season this year unless the injury bug really hurts them. But Edwin Diaz, I see him going in fantasy drafts 8th to 9th round. And Diaz, I know a few seasons ago with the Seattle Mariners, he had a great season, no doubt about it, was Diaz. But I don't see him putting up 40 to 50 saves again this year. And I think they're gonna definitely overrating him in fantasy drafts. And I think he's gonna not have a great season as Diaz. On the 2021 season, the projections 3-4 record with 28 saves, 121 strikeouts, a 3 ERA, and a 1.21 WHIP. So those projections, I think they're pretty accurate in my opinion. I think Diaz, he'll probably blow 6 or 7 saves, maybe more, and they're ranking him 92nd coming into the season. And I just don't see him as an 8th or 9th rounder in my opinion. And I'm not a big closer guy. I could wait for closes 14th and 15th round and get pretty much the same production as a closer I'm going to take in the 7th or 8th round. So there's closers out there you could get late. Jordan Hicks, Mark Melancon, Alexei Colomé, Craig Kimbrell. So Edwin Diaz, I think they're ranking him too high. And he's a player I definitely can't trust either. I think he's going to blow a decent amount of saves. And he's going to be a pitcher bust. The second bust this year is going to be Trevor Bauer of the Los Angeles Dodgers. So Trevor Bauer last season, the National League Cy Young winner. And this year he goes to the defending champs. It's the perfect chance here for Bauer to repeat as the NL Cy Young with the defending champs, with him going back to his hometown and with him being the highest paid pitcher this season. But Trevor Bauer last season, great year with the Cy Young, 73 innings pitched, 5-4 record, 100 strikeouts, 1.73 ERA, and an 0.79 WHIP, and 9 quality starts for Trevor Bauer. So Bauer, it was a great year, but he had a very weak competition in the NL Central and AL Central teams. And this year he's going to verse a good NL West division. You got the San Diego Padres, who was stacked. The Rockies, they could still hit the baseball, even though Nolan Arenado got traded to the St. Louis Cardinals in the offseason. Only a 2-month sample size to see Trevor Bauer win the Cy Young Award. And this season, they're projecting him 15-9 with a 3.15 ERA, 243 strikeouts, a 1.08 WHIP, and 21 quality starts in 194 innings. So that's pretty decent projections, obviously, for Trevor Bauer. But right now, he's going as the 4th best pitcher in fantasy drafts, late first, early second round. And they got pitchers behind him like Walker Buehler, Max Scherzer, Jack Flaherty, Clayton Kershaw, and Luis Castillo, who I believe could have better seasons than Trevor Bauer. And Bauer, I just think they're ranking him too high after one amazing season and a small track record last year in a 60-game season. The next pitcher is Haunchy of the Toronto Blue Jays. So Rio, he's 37 years old, I believe. And this season, they're ranking him 90th in fantasy baseball. So he's a top 20 starter, it seems like, in the rankings. And last season, he was 5-2 with a 2.69 ERA and a 1.15 WHIP and 75 quality starts with 72 strikeouts in 67 innings. So Rio, he's not a big strikeout pitcher. And he's on a Toronto Blue Jay team that, yeah, they should win a lot of ball games. But I think Rio this season, it's going to be a bad season for him. He's up there in age. Last season was only a 2-month sample size. And it's his second season now with Toronto. And I think the AL is going to catch up to him. Obviously, he was in the NL for seasons with the Los Angeles Dodgers. But now with the Blue Jays and another year in the AL, I don't think he has a good year. I think his ERA will be mid-3s to high-4s, but they're projecting another great season for him. 12 wins, 7 losses, 183 strikeouts, a 2.91 ERA, a 1.18 whip, and 18 quality starts in 170 innings pitched. But I just don't see it happening here for Haunchy Ryu this year. And they got a couple pitchers I believe that are going to be better than him going after him in fantasy draft. Zach Wheeler, Dylan Bundy. I think Zach Plesac could be better. Lance McCullers, Max Fried, Chris Paddock. So those guys I'd rather have than Ryu. I know he had a great season last year and the year before, but this season I don't see it happening for Ryu. Another monster year. The next pitcher that's going to be a bust in my opinion is Aroldis Chapman of the New York Yankees. And Chapman, he hasn't been the same in my opinion the last few seasons. And now we'll see what he's going to do for the Yankees. He's blown a couple spring training saves as well. And last season, Chapman, he was 1-1 with 3 saves, 22 strikeouts, a 3.09 ERA, and a 0.86 whip in 11 innings. So Chapman, he was hurt a little last season. And this year, I think he's going to be suspended as well a few games. And they're ranking him 84th coming into the year. So that's about 7th or 8th round of most fantasy drafts. And once again, like I said with Edwin Diaz, with Chapman, I'm going to say obviously he's the closer. Obviously the Yankees are one of the best teams in all of Major League Baseball this season. But Chapman, the last few seasons, we've seen him blow a lot of saves, especially in playoff games and even games where the Yankees had big leads and he just couldn't hold on. And this season they're projecting a 3-2 record for Chapman, 37 saves, 93 strikeouts, a 3.20 ERA, and a 1.15 whip in 59 innings. So Chapman, those are pretty decent numbers, but the ERA is pretty high for a closer. And I know he's going to get a decent amount of saves, probably 35 to 40. But he's a player that's going to hurt as well in the ERA. And your whip, I believe, is Chapman, because he's wild. He gives up a lot of hits and homers for a closer. And like I say, I might sound like a broken record. There's some good closers you could get later in drafts, and they'll put up similar numbers or even better, who knows. So Chapman, I think he'll be a bust, and the 5th and final bust that I think is going to be this season at the pitching position is James Conchack, the closer for the Cleveland Indians. So Conchack, they're ranking him pretty high for a guy who really don't have a track record or much closing experience, obviously. They're ranking him 89th this season in fantasy baseball. And last season, Conchack, in limited time, 27 innings, a 1-2 record, 1 save, 53 strikeouts. So his strikeout rate is definitely impressive, though. 2 strikeouts an inning, pretty much, he's averaging with a 2.67 ERA and a 1.111 whip. So last season, the strikeout numbers were high, but this year they're projecting him a 3-2 record, 25 saves, 111 strikeouts in 63 innings, which is a crazy ratio. A 3.29 ERA, which isn't great for a closer, and a 1.14 whip. So Conchack, they're projecting huge strikeout numbers, and they're projecting a decent amount of saves. But this season, I don't think he's a guy you should take in the 8th and 9th round of your fantasy draft, where, like I said again, there's a bunch of closers late in the draft that are going to get probably more saves than him and just less strikeouts. But strikeouts ain't the end-all, be-all in fantasy baseball, because a lot of batters strike out nowadays, and we see a lot of pitchers get a lot of strikeouts as well, and there's just too many good players on the board that are going after Conchack that I'd rather have than the closer, who's a pretty much unknown in my opinion. So that's a few pitchers that are going to be busts in my opinion at the fantasy drafts and the major league season this year.